Hello, my name is Julie and this is Stamp with Julie Baum. Today we are making a card for the men. So I'm going to be showing you a Father's Day card, but it could easily be changed to be a birthday card if that is more what you are in the need for. So we're going to be using stamps from the stamp set called Trusty Tools. There are dies that coordinate with that stamp set, which we are not using the dies today, but they do exist. I'm also using some paper that sadly has retired because it coordinated beautifully with that stamp set. But that's okay. You either have this paper or you can find some other paper and substitute it out. All right. So we're going to begin with a card base made out of copper clay. Our card base is 4¼ inches by 8½. And no, that is not right. That just rolled off my tongue and it is not right. 5½ inches by 8½. And I have scored and folded it at 4¼ There we go. I'm going to press my score line, my fold, with my bone folder. Then I'm going to put a layer of black cardstock, and if you use Julie's layering templates, this is a template number 2, and I'm going to attach it to the front. This piece measures 4 inches by 5¼ and we're going to get that right there on the front as a layer. All right, next comes our 3 pieces of designer series paper. These are all tulle themed and so cute. Okay, and these pieces measure 3½ inches by 1½ inch. So I'm going to just kind of dry fit these first to get an idea where I want them, and then I'm going to remove the middle one and place it down first, followed by the other 2. So I'm just going to use my liquid glue. By leaving those other 2 in place, it kind of helps me line this up and get it right in the position that I want. I am also using my grid that I've got here. I don't have a piece of grid paper on my desktop today. Sometimes I just stamp with my grid mat, but if you have that white Stampin' Up grid paper, that's a great tool as well. Okay, and let's get these other 2 pieces attached. How's that looking? Okay, there we go, and our final piece. Okay, so beside these 3 pieces of the designer series paper, I also have a piece of gray granite, and the finished size of my piece is actually 3¼ by 2 inches. But in order to get this piece, I started with gray granite cardstock that was larger, and I used, I said we weren't using the dies. We absolutely are using the dies because this is one of the dies in the stamp set. So I used a larger piece of gray granite and laid this on it and then ran it through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. By doing that, it's a little bit easier to get it straight. So this is a Stamp Club card from May of 2024. And what we did at Club is we started with this size and it was hard to get it straight. The easiest way was to actually lay it onto the die first, then flip the die over and run it through. Otherwise it tended to look a little crooked, but if you're crafting at home and you haven't done it that way, just start with a bigger piece, die cut it, and then trim this piece down to the measurement like so. Okay, so this piece is just going to get put on here kind of at an angle like so. We could use our liquid glue. You could also use tear and tape if you want to, whatever you have handy. But I'm just going to put a couple of rows of glue. I'm not going to glue between every set of holes, but just kind of almost every other. Okay, like that. That's going to hold it just fine. Okay, so this piece is going to go at an angle and maybe something like that. Okay, and that just screams workbench because it's like the pegboard that you can hang your tools on. I love it. Or if you have a pegboard type wall in your craft studio, perhaps to hang your crafting tools. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp on a scrap of white cardstock. I'm using copper clay ink, and I'm using the Dad stamp from Trusty Tools. It's a very bold font, and this is a fairly large stamp. So I think in order to get a nice, clear stamped image, I'm going to go ahead and get my Stampin' Pierce mat out. That way this will have a little give and probably give me a cleaner image. Okay, so I'm going to stamp this in the center of my scrap. Oh yeah. All right, then I'm going to use a die. This die is not from this stamp set coordination. This is actually from Nested Essentials. So this is one of the rounded rectangles, and it just barely fits, which is exactly what I want. Now, a lot of times when I'm showing you videos here on my channel, I will skip the die cutting part just to save time. But because I do that so much, I decided to go ahead and show you the die cutting today in case you would like to see that part. So in this instance, I'm going to use my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss because it fits into my space here. As we're filming, just a little bit easier than my large machine. And so I'm going to layer my my plates with a 1 and then a 2. And then my stamped piece, and the die is next. So I'm just going to straighten that out like so, and then another 2 plate on top of that. All right, and then I'm going to send that through. And just like that, we have our die cut image. Okay, this piece is going to go right here on our card, and I'm going to pop it up with some dimensionals. So at this point though, if you are copying me and making this card, you'll want to know the next step before you attach this, and that is taking some, well, what we did is we used some of the paper and fussy cut 2 of the elements out. So for this card that I'm doing right now, I've fussy cut the brush, the paintbrush, and also these little trimmers out of the paper. Now, if you don't have the paper, and since it's no longer available, then that's where you could use the stamp set with the matching dies to get 2 elements like this for your card. So you're going to want to prepare your elements either by stamping and die cutting them or cutting them out of the paper so that you can kind of figure out your layout. You might find that the words look better here with your little tools in a different area or wherever. So that's why I said get your final 3 pieces and then you can dry fit them and see where you want them. So I'm going to start with my words here and see where we go from there. I kind of like the blue handle up here against the red paper. I might go ahead and tuck the paintbrush up here too. So see, you've got options. This could go this way, or we could completely switch things around. So I think I'm going to just stick with this in general. Okay, so now that I know where those are going to go, I'm going to flip this over, put some Stampin' Dimensionals on the back, and I think I'll just use some minis I will use 6 minis. Then we'll get this into place. When we do the inside of the stamping is where I'm going to use the Happy Father's Day stamp, but that is where you could easily trade it out for a happy birthday stamp, and then you can change, because the dad, that part just works anyway. All right, so I am gonna I think I'm gonna slide this all the way over like that. I like how it looks against this black edge. All right, that is in place. And then I'm going to attach my tools. I think I'm going to go with that layout. So let's get my paint brush down. Now, if you did have this paper, the tools are very easy to fussy cut. All right, that is in place. And this one. A little goes a long way. And we'll do this one. I do kind of want it overlapping on the paintbrush just a little, like so. All right, at the end I'll show you some other cards with different tools, and then you can see different layouts. Okay, let's stamp our inside piece, which is going to be a piece of white cardstock that's 4 inches by 5 1/4, or Julie's layering template number 2. And the first thing I'm going to do is stamp. I'm going to use Lost Lagoon for You Are the Most Awesome. Again, this would work for birthday or Father's Day. That didn't quite look inked up well. Let's put a little more on there. All right, there's that. And then with Poppy Parade, now I chose the colors based on the colors that are in the designer series paper. So that's why I knew to use Copper Clay, Lost Lagoon, and Poppy Parade. All right, and then at this point, I'm gonna do the Happy Father's Day, but if you wanted this to be a birthday card, just substitute Happy Birthday. I'm kind of having a feeling that my Poppy Parade ink pad might be a little light. It probably could use a re-inking, but I don't want to take the time to do that. Let's see if we can get a good enough impression. Our little red image here. Oh yeah, that looks great, but I do think it could use some ink. All right, we can attach this to the inside. And we have a very fast and easy, but quite adorable Father's Day card, or birthday card if you change it up. Like so. As I mentioned, this was from Stamp Club in May of 2024. We made 3 projects. I will link one of the other projects in this video so that you can go straight to that one and see. But this is our dad card for today. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you have never subscribed to my channel, I invite you to do that. And also be sure and click the little bell so that you'll get a notification every time I post a new video. I will put some information for you below this video in the description box. And until next time, happy stamping.